Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are having a fantastic day. So in today's video, we'll be talking again about this winter storm and this very cold air that's behind this winter storm. Definitely rare, unusual. The amounts have kind of decreased across some areas with certain models, so maybe not as large as previously thought, but still very significant, and a lot of areas could see freeze watches or frosts. You can see all of these things, right? Advisories, watches, warnings. Look how much is covered in these areas. We have the watches extending all the way from northern Texas, and these are freeze watches. Yeah, so 29 to 32. The only reason it's not a warning is because it's still a bit away and there's still a bit of kind of uncertainty. So that's why it's still just a watch. But notice further up north, they're pretty confident. And in some areas, look at that upper 20s, central Illinois, northern central Indiana, Missouri. That is gonna kill a lot of things that are tender or soft that are put outside. That's why, again, if for those that are gardeners, always be reluctant to put out your warm weather crops up until, I would say, after Memorial Day, like tomatoes, especially around my area. That's usually what I go by. Regardless, if you guys enjoy weather, just enjoy the weather talk. I am a weather hobbyist. I make videos about the weather, snow, winter, right, hurricanes, all that type of stuff. I do my best. So if you would like to do that, subscribe and like, that would help out a ton. And of course, if you know the channel is one for you. Don't just randomly subscribe, right? Okay, enough talking. Notice we have a lot of, obviously, advisories. Let's just take a radar, so let's take that layer off. And notice for the past 6 hours, what we see is, really, we could see where the cold air is. So notice that the low pressure system is right here. It's dropping a bit of precipitation, rain, right, mainly to the south of it. And then behind it, some cold air. And look at that. The cold front stretching out through Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Nebraska. And behind this is some pretty chilly air. And let's just draw a few arrows. So notice that these little showers are kind of what's going to be going on, but further to the south tomorrow and for the next several days. We do have quite a bit of warm air out ahead of this. Low pressure, nothing extraordinary, but again, you can see that there actually are a few thunderstorms. I'll show you occurring into southern Canada. Notice, look at all those showers. That could be going on across much of the Midwest and Great Lakes tomorrow. Again, just tomorrow. So that is what's coming our way. Pretty chilly air, again, giving those many areas those frosts and advisories, all of that stuff. So notice, look at that, the cold front plowed through. Definitely some chillier temperatures behind it. Notice some scattered snow. This band of snow is just getting itself organized. Look at all the moisture it's pulling from the mountains. Those showers up there. Look how strong they got. At around 4:30 today, very no squally like conditions. Look at that, some thunderstorms into southern Canada right there. So definitely pretty warm out ahead of it. But notice there's our snow. Look how much it's pulling behind it, this cold front, right? People are asking, why is it so cold? Why is it so unusually cold? Because we see low pressures all the time. The thing is, the jet stream is constantly getting squeezed by these highs and low pressures in the further up north, and we are now in a pattern that's going to form. It's called an omega pattern. We basically have a high here and a high here, and the jet stream gets squeezed into a U shape. On top of that, with the introduction of that jet stream, we have this low pressure that has a pretty strong cold front accelerating the jet stream even more. And this snow on the backside of this is, as a result, pretty strong, since this jet stream is also pretty strong as it's dipping into the United States. And notice, right, that's a large cluster of snow moving onto the plains, and this will continue. Notice there we have a thunderstorm across southern Canada into Thetford Mines and St. George, moving in the next hour or two. Really 30 minutes to an hour, so definitely something to watch for as well. Let's take a look at what's to come. So that's our radar. Notice this is what the European ensembles, which again I would say probably have the best handle on, and there's 51 of the models, so a pretty averaged out look. Notice what they're showing. All right, so there is a bit of disagreement across several models regarding how much snow will fall across Kansas and southern Nebraska and Missouri. A lot of them are showing, though, 2 to 4 inches. And the National Weather Service, I think especially towards the further west you go, they put out 2 to 5 inches. Let's just take a look at Hill City. just a random location clicked on. Yeah, 2 to 4 inches. The advisory, I assume, is probably calling from 2 to 5, as that's okay. Well, 2 to 4 with blowing snow, because usually an advisory is called when up to 5 inches of snow is possible. There are some warnings in the higher elevated areas, and look at that. A hard freeze warning is actually in effect for locations in the panhandle of Texas, which is just a bit unfortunate. Going back, notice that it does definitely increase the snowfall amounts, especially as it goes into Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire. And that's because when the jet stream is strong and it has this U pressure, which you can see the snow follows, it has usually jet streams have the strongest winds around the southeastern kind of quadrant of their winds, of their track, if you will. And this low pressure, the snow, as it gets here, it will slow down, start strengthening, and turn vertically almost, more vertically, and that will cause it to strengthen and obviously drop more snow. Let's take a look at some other models. Let's just take a look at the European, the ECMWF by itself. This is what it shows, right? This is what it is right now, and you can see the radar is a bit more impressive than what the European is showing. So again, maybe a bit of underplayment. Notice that today, by really midnight and into tomorrow morning, Tuesday, 1 a.m., we see snow moving into Kansas, Colorado, Denver, continuing to see snow. Then tomorrow by 7 o'clock in the morning, 6, 7, 8, depending on which time zone you're in, it moves into central Kansas, right, into Missouri. Kansas City is going to be at this point in for some heavy snow. You know, it will have troubles accumulating, but the reason it will accumulate is because of how heavily it will be falling. And then notice, as it moves further east, the European introduces quite a bit of mixing, which again, I think there will be a bit less of. However, you know, it's a possibility. Notice that again, this track is further to the south than with the previous couple days, where it was more of a upper, right, northern track, and it also was a bit more horizontal rather than kind of diagonal or on a positive slope. Okay, notice that as we push into Wednesday, Tuesday evening into Wednesday overnight, it kind of starts forming into mainly snow. Again, I don't think there will be that much mixing with this sleet right here, as they're showing, or just a mix. I think it will be rather uniform. Either rain, either snow, and definitely leaning towards snow, especially if the snowfall rates are heavy. Then the snow will have no problem converting, or the precip will have no problem converting to snow. And then notice that as this tracks through Cleveland, right, Erie, and Pennsylvania, New York, this definitely drops quite a bit of snow. And look at that, gathers up some energy. We have a low pressure, strong cold front, quite a bit of rain, and we see this moving up the northeast coast into southern Canada. And look at that, as it approaches Quebec, for example, it starts getting very strong winds, and it's a bit slower moving, so some heavy amounts of snow, potentially up to 10 inches, could fall there. And look, it sticks around for quite a few days, dropping quite a bit of wind, but again, the damage is kind of done, and it's past. And after that, the pattern warms up, and we start seeing new storms, not really snowstorms, just classic spring and almost summer-like systems, as the temperatures will be quickly rebounding. Let me tell you that after the snow events, if you're eager to see summer and spring finally, you know, with those warm temperatures, you'll get it. This seems to be the strongest wave of cold air in the next for the next good while, and into summer, cool air is usually appreciated. It's only in April where it could get cold enough to still produce frost. In May, it could get cold enough to kind of bring a chilly night, and in June, July, it could be cold enough to relieve the heat, right? So, you know, we're definitely getting towards the tail end of winter, and there have been snowstorms well into late April, and you know, that's the next week. Really doesn't look like if it will be supportive of any major snowstorm, but just hang on there, we're almost there. And notice this is what the European model shows. Again, not bad amounts across Kansas. I wouldn't be surprised if some of these could be you know, snowfall records for April 20th, which will be tomorrow. There probably are amounts maybe ranging 1 to 4 in records, but I know that temperature records could be broken for many locations across these locations for April 20th, so definitely, you know, historic in that sense. And then notice, as we push this forward, look at that, we see very strong amounts of snow. So Quebec, 9-10 inches in terms of centimeters, that is, so, close to probably 10, 20, probably 20 to 30 centimeters in spots reaching over 40. And then across the northeast, widespread 8, 7, you know, 6 inches plus. Probably winter storm warnings will be issued. But even look at that, Detroit, 2 inches. Cleveland, 5, 4 inches. It's not really good for those folks living here. That's definitely going to be unpleasant. And after that, obviously, very little snow comes as it starts warming up. Let's take a look now at the dreaded temperature forecast, as that's honestly the scariest part for those that have gardens or crops. for those that don't, it doesn't really matter that much. This whole event doesn't matter in the first place if you don't really have anything to lose out in terms of vegetation, but usually people have some sort of flowers, or at least one plant they want to, it's secure after the warm days they've put out. So just warning you that this could be pretty widespread, and just you better be safe and sorry for the next 2 days. Take the stuff indoors or protect it. Notice that this is what the temperature forecast looks like. So today, not that bad for kind of the lower Midwest and the lower Great Lakes. It will be chilly to the north. Definitely well below freezing. Look at that though. Throughout the day, Tuesday, very little rebounding. Many locations staying in the 30s. And then look at that. Wednesday, Tuesday night, right? Look at that, 30s as far south as Arkansas, maybe Oklahoma, Indiana. You could see where the snow kind of fell. Definitely some upper 20s, maybe even some mid 20s being reported. But look at that, right? Thursday, and now into Wednesday during the day. Pretty nice rebound, especially further towards the west. Across the east, it's still cold. And then as you get towards Wednesday night, it could be still pretty chilly, as you can see right there. Definitely some locations. Look at that, 23. That would be tough. Even though, and even other locations still getting in the 30s. But after that, that seems to be the last cold night, as the, Thursday night is now a bit warmer, and now into Friday, it's more pleasant. And let me just run this through. You can see that, yes, the cold air may make it into northern Wisconsin or northern Minnesota, but it's not going to be making its way into northern Arkansas, which it could this time around. But definitely still below average, I would say. But again, this outbreak is really below average, and that's kind of the difference. Notice though, we quickly start seeing some heat building, and look at that, just like that, 70s and 80s in areas where it could be 25 tomorrow. So definitely not pleasant if you don't like big changes, but at the same time, at least it doesn't keep you waiting for that warm temperatures. It's you'll be really wanting those warm temperatures tomorrow when you see the snow, and you'll get them pretty quickly. So yeah, the European and most other models advertise at least warming pattern, if not like the Euro above average pattern. Look at that. This is now next week, Thursday night or Wednesday night. This is the night. Right, 62 in Michigan. That's the nighttime low. That's very warm. Okay, so that's the European. Let me show you the GFS model. Let me just show you the snowfall, as the temperature really is the same. And honestly, I think the GFS has usually a worse handle and likes to show extremes, especially on the cold side. Look at it. It definitely advertises for some heavier snow, 6 inches widespread. I wouldn't say it's going to be this aggressive, but I would not be surprised to see some isolated 6-inch amounts across Missouri, definitely across Kansas, Indiana, Ohio, and as you get into the Northeast, probably a few foot-plus amounts. And then, obviously, the GFS doesn't really show much snow further south, but it does show occasional snow visiting the upper Midwest and obviously into southern Canada and the mountainous areas. I do want to show you now the Canadian model, a relatively good model that I like to use. And let's take a look at what it shows. Look at that, right? It doesn't show much across Illinois, as that's kind of when this will be occurring during the day, so the least cold air is available. But then once it gets towards the night, heavier snow could be falling, and more easily, as there will be more cold air to tap into. So again, 6-7 inches, I would not be too surprised to see in some isolated locations. Maybe not as widespread as they show, but again, these events are often hard to predict, as there's a lot of spring weather to the south, cold weather to the north, and sometimes they could either underproduce or really overproduce quite a bit, and that's what they did already in South Dakota, this event. So hopefully history isn't gonna maintain itself with an overproducing system across this location, but again, it's certainly possible. And that's pretty much it. I do want to show you that the Canadian also does advertise for warmth in the longer range, but this model is usually a bit of a worse model in terms of temperatures. Look at that. For the for this week, very chilly, and it just shows you how chilly it will be. Look at that. The Canadian revisits some cold air into this weekend, but again, look at that starting to warm up as we have a low pressure system, maybe some more of that chilly air for now further into the west rather than the eastern U.S. And just probably even at this point, if it's 10 degrees below average across South Dakota when it's late April, it's not going to be most likely a frost, but just some chillier temperatures. So again, this is kind of, it could still happen in May, frost, and especially across the northern U.S., but maybe not as far south as this event. But for example, last year, May 8th, we had a huge anomaly come through, like almost a spring polar vortex, and that did drop temperatures into below freezing for a lot of locations. But again, this year, It's unlikely that will repeat itself, but it's possible. You know, each year is possible. Okay, so that's that. I showed you the National Weather Service, their weather radiation map. I do want to quickly show you how much the National Weather Service thinks will fall, right? Their official kind of forecast that, again, will probably be updated, and this doesn't mean this is exactly what's going to happen. Notice they do advertise for some pockets of 6 inches plus across Kansas. They really do not show a lot across these locations. Again, I think that's an underestimate, and honestly don't know if this is accurate because I saw in one location across central Illinois it was forecasted to be 1 to 3. Regardless, yeah, they're definitely going to be adjusting this as the Northeast looks to be getting quite a bit more of snow than what this forecast shows. Regardless, this is what they kind of have for now, and we'll just have to take that as their best guess. Her model, let's take a glance at this model. This is a high-res model. Usually, I really like it, and it's usually pretty accurate. However, in this case, it may be accurate, but it's kind of an outlier. It shows the system a bit further to the north than most other models. I mean, it still had a trend of shifting it to the south, but it's still a bit further to the north. Reluctant, right? Notice, by today, 2 a.m., there's our time. 2 a.m. snowing across Kansas, dropping potentially an inch of snow per hour, moving into Missouri. Look at that, it's propagating pretty far to the north, and a lot of models don't even bring it into, at this point, northern Illinois, but there are some that bring it, you know, even further than what this model is showing, so just be prepared. And look at that, Illinois, right, Missouri, Iowa, getting some snow into Indiana, Michigan, Ohio. And look at that, it's even some snow into the Ozarks of Missouri. And this continues, and look at that, see, by, say, watch northwestern Ohio, kind of this area. They could be in the snow for several hours. Starts by tomorrow, 12 p.m., moves through, and ends only by 10 p.m. So 10 hours of some moderate snow could definitely drop some pretty good amounts. I do want to point out these showers that will be occurring. Look at that. Maybe a bit overestimated by this model, but again, today, as you saw on the radar, it was quite impressive. So it's the same system. It's not to say that this will, you know, it's probably going to look something like that. You just see snow squalls, brief reduced visibility, and look at that kind of dwindling as the night goes on, but potentially resurging into the next day of Wednesday. Notice even some potential thunderstorms across the northeast coast into Wednesday. Total snowfall, again, I'd say this is pretty reasonable. Maybe a bit low again across the Illinois area here, but definitely I think they have a good estimate across the Ohio area and into Lake Erie. Look at that, Toronto. I think there could be also more heavier snow here than what this model is showing, but again, it doesn't take us through the whole trek of the system. Another high-res model, the NAM, you can see keeps it a bit further to the south. Again, I would say reasonable amounts, maybe a bit too high for these locations, but again, it's possible. And I would say that's probably what's going to happen in terms of the snows. 6 inches, you know, across Ohio, Indiana, definitely possible. And then the RGEM, you could see similar amounts in a similar axis, kind of a break through the Illinois area when that will be going through during the day. But the rest of the east and the west of that, you know, here's the evening and night, here's the evening and night, so it will be falling and accumulating rather more easily. And that's basically it, guys. So I just wanted to show you that. A few more high-res maybe. NAM 3KM shows those amounts. This is what this model shows. Rather unusual stripe of very heavy snow, not really supported. These models that I'm showing you right now are usually a bit more arbitrary, but again, you can see the pattern remains kind of like this axis, and we'll just have to keep an eye on this. Notice quite a bit of snow into central Ontario as well. And thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya.